Hey, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Hardin. Glad to be back. Happy Tuesday, the last day of September. I can't believe it's going to be October already. Where has September been? Where has it gone? That's the question. But yeah, it's going to be in October. We are just in the beginning of fall season. But I got a great guest coming up, first time on the show. But before I bring her on, hit my music. Let's get it. All right. Once again, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Hardin, and glad to be back with a new episode, September 30th. Like I said at the top, it's almost October, so hope everyone's enjoying their week, enjoying the fall weather as well. But before I bring my guest on, great guest coming up, you can follow the show on all the podcast platforms, whether it is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we're on YouTube, BS3 Network, BS3TVLive.com, BS3 Network Roku channel as well, Spreaker, all the podcast platforms wherever you consume podcasts, we are there. And you can also follow the show you can follow me on all the social media platforms, Twitter, whatever it's called these days, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Blue Sky. All right, let me bring in my guest. They want to get her on, and you might have seen you've seen her doing a lot of things at the world track and field world championships this past 2 weeks ago now, and she's getting all the great interviews there as well. So Nia Gibson, talking all things track and field, flow sports, flow track, but she's a lover of all sports. We're gonna get into a little bit of sport, track and field, and other sports as well. So Nia, welcome to the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
For sure, definitely. Thanks for doing this. And like I said, I've been following you for a little bit, and you were there in Tokyo as well, doing your thing at the Track and Field World Championship. So we're gonna get into all that. But how's everything going? Are you back to some normalcy, at least back in the States and everything? But how's everything going with you?
I don't think there's anything there's no such thing as normalcy if you're working for it. But I think that's the beautiful thing about it. That's the beautiful thing about it. We get to talk about something that we love, talk about something that we're passionate about, and really engage with each other, with the fans, and just kind of be that bridge that gaps, the athletes and the fans. So, I mean, no normalcy, but I'm happy about it.
You're right about that. There is no normalcy, right? And when you say back in the States after the trip to Tokyo, let's get into that. Let's get into your trip to Tokyo. I was gonna usually ask how you got into sports and reporting and things like that, but we'll transition to that in a little bit. But I want to start with that. Making that trip to Tokyo. Great coverage, by the way, too, and great content that you had. Yeah, for sure. I was following it and everything too. And I was on the show with Serenity Douglas, who
That's
also
my girl.
yes. She is definitely the homie there, and really enjoy her coverage as well. And you were on her show too, and I was too a couple times too. But how was that? The trip to Tokyo and being able to do all those interviews and just and covering the world track and field world championships.
It was surreal. Definitely a career highlight, I would say.
Yeah.
Because track and field definitely, I would say, is like my first love in terms of my introduction to sports. And to be there and see people do it at the highest level and see what they've trained for in such I think this was a very special and unique season. Yeah. It was nice to see. 'Cause I think in addition to seeing all of these really great performances and records broken, whether it be championship records, world records, national records, whatever it may have you're seeing this raw emotion, and you're actually seeing the real thrill of victory and agony of defeat, and how that's probably going to translate into not only their season next year, but just their careers moving forward. You're seeing really those intangibles that you can't put into words. You're seeing a lot of athletes where the stats don't tell the whole story. You kind of just had to be there. You just had to be there moments. So you're seeing a huge array of different emotions, and you're seeing people who have trained their entire life, let alone season, for this moment, see it all come into fruition. And then conversely speaking, as I was saying before, see it all kind of fall apart. Um,
Yeah.
you're seeing a lot of surprises. You're seeing a lot of new rivalries being born. You're seeing there being more added layers to certain events or just track and field as a whole. You're just seeing a lot. And I mean, you can get into the fact that the last time a lot of these athletes were in Tokyo was for the Olympics, and it was just completely dead in the city. So this kind of felt
Yeah.
like World Championships was just a second chance because this is post pandemic. You're seeing a very vibrant city being able to be vibrant. You're able to see the fans come out multiple days where the stands that holds well over 67,000 people just sold out for certain events. And it felt like this was like a redemption arc for the city, let alone the athletes. So it's just a ton of layers you can get into it, regardless of whether you're talking about the 100 or the marathon. It just was amazing.
Yeah, it looked amazing, and watching it every day here in the States in the morning,
Mhm.
6:30 a.m. How
Yeah.
was time change? That was what they were 12 hours ahead or something like that, 12, 13 hours ahead.
So 13 if you're on the East Coast, and with me being in Texas, I'm central, so 14. So right now in Tokyo, it is 6:33 a.m. Look at the time.
Yes, yes, and I'm sure that that time change was something and something because I was, I was watching it. I was watching some in the morning. I was recording some because 6 o'clock a.m. is early here,
Yeah.
as you know, and everything too. But like you said, I love the content. You had I got a lot of great interviews that you had, and on top of that, it was an amazing World Championships as it was. You said record breaking and so some of American records and world records being broken,
Mhm.
but the atmosphere it said it was different because of the last they said the last time they were here was the Olympics where there was no fans in the stand. So this was just a epic moments for them. He said sold out arena over 67,000 people there. It just the atmosphere just seemed electric.
Yeah, I mean, electric was the word.
Hmm.
Like during the 100, I'd say the men's 100 and the women's 400 and
Mm,
the men's
yeah.
4x4, the crowd just kind of roared because you have definitely the Japanese fans in there who was definitely like putting on for their home crowd. But then you had so many Americans there, and you had so many Jamaicans there, and you
Mm,
had just so many track and field fans, period, there. And it was
right,
like, it was beautiful. It's so nice to see our sport being appreciated in the way that it should be. Because honestly speaking, you don't see that in America. Maybe once or
right,
twice, like such as like maybe a Prefontaine Classic, you'll definitely get like that overseas field with the type of fans you'll have in the stands. But it's not really all that normal for it to be celebrated in the way you would like an NBA or NFL game. So to see that, it just definitely one of those like moments you take a lot of pride in your sport, and it's like, yes, we're all here for the love of track. And yeah, like I mean, there's just moments upon moments. Like when Mondo broke the world record, it felt
mm,
very storytelling esque, and it's like obviously that's the 14th time he's ever broken his own world.
yeah.
But it seems as though every single one of those times are so special, and in the setting and environment that he does it in makes it even more special. So
Yeah, for sure. It was like I said, it was electric. It was amazing just watching on TV. So being in person and
yeah.
with all those athletes, and you're right. Some of those events, you said the 100 for the men, 400 for the women, which exceeded the hype, like over exceeded the hype that it was with that, and just like I said, in the 4x4, and just yeah, all the events. We'll get into some of your favorites in a little bit. But let's get back into and we'll get back to that the World Championships. I definitely want to pick your brain on how some of your favorite events, some of your favorite moments of that of those 2 weeks, week and a half it was. But let's talk about you from your beginning. You talked a little bit about your love of track and you ran track in high school and college as well. How was your experience as a student athlete influence your decision to pursue what you do now in sports journalism and media and covering track and field and other sports?
Honestly, I think my love of just track in general started before I even ran track. My mom ran track. She ran at Georgia Tech, and she's also another fellow lover of all sports. Like I get it from her.
Yeah.
I think as a little girl, she would do my hair every Sunday for the week for school, and I would want to watch maybe Powerpuff Girls or something like that. And no, she's like, no, we're gonna watch the game. And naturally, I like kind of joined her in that love of just sports, period. Whether it be like the NBA Sunday Showcase or some NFL Sunday game on. Sometimes she'll get ahead of it early, maybe watching whatever 1 o'clock slot is, or sometimes it may be like we had stuff to do during the day, so she's doing my hair during Sunday Night Football. And it just grew from there and it became very routine. And even when like those times passed and I aged out of her doing my hair every Sunday, we would still find ourselves in the same place, sitting down together every Sunday watching some sort of sport. And then you realize it continues on during the week. You have an NBA game on Mondays and Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, like Thursday night football. Then you go into college football, and then I start to see her college pride whenever Georgia Tech would play. You see a lot of good old fashioned hate between GT and UGA and stuff like that, regardless of whether they were lopsided or not. You'd always get some sort of solid game. And I'm really starting to learn and comprehend why sports is like, it's like math to me. It's a universal language. So I think regardless of what you like to do, what you love, what you represent, people can kind of come together and really just celebrate sports. And that's really where my love grew from it. And then I think from there, as an athlete, I had a better understanding of it. And then just also naturally being someone who likes to talk, someone who's never been shy, I always knew that in some capacity, I wanted to work in sports and I wanted to be the person to tell those stories. So it was one of those things. It was just, it was already written. In all honesty, it was already written.
No doubt. I like that. And I like your perspective. You said it's kind of like a math, because it is, like you said, you're solving different things about these sports, and really, depending on the sport, like you said, the storytelling and things like that too. I like that. I never heard it that told that way. So that's interesting. So I really do like that perspective. And you said, and you went to Syracuse University as well.
The
Talk
best
about
journalism school in the world.
Newhouse, yeah, for sure. I'm originally from upstate New York. I live in Philadelphia now, so but born and raised upstate New York, Elmira, New York, and so I know all about Syracuse. Visited there many times and everything too. But talk about your experience at Syracuse, and he said that the broadcasting. I mean, it's top notch. He said the best. It's top notch there. So talk about your experience at Syracuse University.
Yeah, I mean, Syracuse, I think, we have so much pride in it for a reason. Like, we call ourselves, so the journalism school there is Newhouse. We call ourselves Newhouse Mafia. And it's mainly because we're everywhere in the broadcast space. And whenever we see each other, we hear that and immediately just got each other's back. Like, we are in some Godfather-esque mafia. And it's something that it's hard not to take so much pride in, because we put it's a hard program. It's very rigorous. Yeah. Regardless of whether you did it during your undergrad or you did the graduate program, it's very, very rigorous. And they're giving you a lot of real life, real world experience where you are leaving there with a lot of things that people in the field who's probably been in the field maybe 2-3 years have had already. Just even like small little nuggets, from how you present yourself on television to the octave of your voice, maybe with your body language and your maybe nonverbal cues or your nonverbal communication. Like, every little nitty gritty thing is just criticized and just making sure it's all good. I had a professor, Olivia Stomsky, out. She was my favorite professor. And in the sports production class, she asked me what I want to do and who I want to be. And I said, I want to be the best female sideline reporter for multiple sports and whatever. And she said, I need you to do better than that. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? She's like, I want you to be the best sideline reporter, period. Not the best Black reporter, not the best female. I want you to be the best reporter, period.
Yeah.
And she was like, because you have it in you, you can do it. And she really did change my perspective on certain stuff, because I think you get a bit of imposter syndrome and you want to box yourself in and think, is it possible for me to be the best I can? I think what I learned from that school was to be a little delusional. Like, as crazy as that sounds, like, if no one's going to believe that you are going to be the best you want to be, or you're going to win this Emmy, let them believe that. But you can't add to those like doubters. You can't add to that. And I really did get, like, I'd say maybe that audacity from going to Syracuse. And I think that's why you see a lot of people come from that school with so much like pride, as obnoxious as it may be to other people. But I think it definitely plays a really big role in like the way I carry myself and the way I believe in myself, because I do also believe that if I didn't believe in myself in this way, I wouldn't be where I am now, or nor would I be able to like, I guess, go through where I would with such a like strong armor, because it's like, okay, while you don't believe that, I know I'm destined for X, Y, and Z. So this isn't gonna stop me. So
Oh,
yeah, I mean, like that's like my experience there. And I mean, that's even from being on the track team as well. Like you learn like some certain intangibles just being in a team environment, and just you learn time management, you learn that there's consequences for your actions, you learn that you have to be, you know, on time, you learn how to be straightened up, you know, you learn how to be prepared, because if you're not prepared, you will fail.
wow.
And they let me fail. There's been times I have failed before, and at no one's fault but my own. So learning what those consequences were firsthand definitely changed a lot for me, and definitely changed the trajectory of my career.
Absolutely. It just seems like you said it's teaches professionalism and saying
Hmm.
being ready and all those things. And as you said, all the intangibles that certain, certain, I'm sure certain programs and schools don't always teach, but I know Newhouse at Syracuse definitely teaches that, because it's just, I mean, some of the big names that's come from the Newhouse program is tremendous. It's incredible, but not even just that, just in general, just we hear about it all the time. That Syracuse broadcasting is it
Shout out Mike
is
Rico.
yeah,
So
Mike
yeah,
Tirico, yeah, for sure. He's definitely one of the biggest names from coming from Syracuse to the Newhouse program.
yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, definitely. It's but you got some couple shout outs here. Let's see. You got Nathan Ramasandra says, "What's up, Nia?"
Hi.
He said, "Everyone keep up the great work." Definitely appreciate that, and we appreciate the comments as well. If you guys got any questions for Nia, definitely put them in the chat, and we'll try to answer those as well. So, but yeah, so then now you transition. You said from track, and then media and broadcasting as well, and now you're on flow track, as from their perspective. how's their how did that all transpire, and how's their approach in covering track and field different from other like mainstream sports outlets, and with their platform, which is a big platform as well.
Flow track is super special. I think because it feels very like grassroots in a sense. Like I'll give you like one of our general managers, he was like employee number 5 here.
Mm.
So there's like an understanding of how I think underappreciated our sport is, but how beautiful of a sport it is. So he was on a mission. It was just very like intentional about making sure that this sport got the love it did. And the things that where flow track came from a place of just, I think, pure love. And they love the sport. And then the thing is, they love a lot of sports. They love
Yeah.
celebrating the small sports and amplifying those voices. So flow track is super special in a sense, because it just grew from there. And seeing where it was from now, where people were just kind of, they were like sharing a house to make sure that they covered a certain event that was out of
Mm.
state, using their last to pay for a camera because they want higher quality video and footage to put out of these athletes. They were one of the first ones to do like, so we have this documentary style thing called Workout Wednesdays. We were one of the first ones to do it, and because who would have thought to follow an athlete around as they were working out, so you can get an inside look of how they become this world class athlete, and doing it on many different levels, whether it be like professional, college, even some high school kids. Because I don't know if you heard the term trackflation. These high school kids are running.
Yeah.
They are running, and they're running fast. So following them around doing that, and just kind of giving those fans like a perspective of what it means to be at this level, just so that they can have that same appreciation that we have just from doing it and loving it all of these years. So it's been a unique experience from like other places I've been to. And I think with it being a bit of a smaller company, I get to be a little bit more instrumental in the stuff that I do. I get to have a little bit more creative control in things that has my face on it. And that's super, super nice, as opposed to it being me being super boxed in, or that's just
Right.
how it is. So I have like, I mean, definitely have to fall in line at times, right? But I do have a lot of say and creative control with a lot of things that I'm involved in. So flow track is definitely special in that sense. We get to, and with it being track and field, you get to cover some of the best athletes in the world, internationally, domestically, high school, college, professional, because at this point you might as well put them all together between Cooper Luckenhouse and
Yeah.
Ford running crazy in college, and then we all know how the pros are doing. So
Hmm. Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah.
um so yeah, no, it's fun. It's really fun work. It's a lot of work. It's the typical sports, nights, holidays, weekends.
Yep.
So it's one of those things where it's only crazy if you don't love it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. It's flow track, live track events, exclusive content,
Hmm.
flow sports, as well. And I think that's another point you made about creative control and being able to, as you said, yes, you said you have a lot of say, but a lot of creative control too. But it makes you think like, okay, I could get really creative with some of the things and ideas that you have, and they're allow you to have that. You said go into live events, being able to do your own content. I think it's great that you're at you have a company that believes in you, believes in your work ethic, your content, and you're able to put out that tremendous kind of interviews, whatever it is, and travel with those events as well. So, how important is to you storytelling, especially in track and field, where you said earlier about being in Tokyo, you saw the fans really appreciate the track and field in itself. United States, they do appreciate, but you see when you go overseas, Jamaica or Tokyo, wherever, it's really covered and things like that. But talk about that from a media perspective, the coverage of track and field and where it should be. And I think it's growing, but you say it could be something more stuff can be done more with that.
Absolutely. I think we still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
grown, and I can acknowledge the progress we've had in track and field. But two things can be true at once. We have a long way to go.
Yeah.
And that's why, to your point, storytelling is it's important. It's honestly, I would say, the most important, because Noah Lyles winning 4 world championships in a row is not news to anybody unless you have that person to be that connective tissue to the fans and really deliver it properly. Now, it's one thing to be like, hey guys, so Noah Lyles just won his 4th world championship in a row and act as if it's nothing, when that's a big feat. But
Yeah.
you need to tell that story properly. It's something where instead you're going to tell them, Noah Lyles just won his 4th world championship in a row. Understand why that's important. We're in a constantly changing environment. There's talent coming in, the talent coming out, and at a rapid pace. They're becoming younger, whereas Noah is becoming older, and he's still able to be dominant. Say what you want to say about him. Maybe he be and a lot of the stuff you guys want to say is because he probably beat your favorite and he's
Yep.
very out loud about it, and he may talk a lot, but he will walk more often than not. I would say 90% of the time Noah is going to back up what he wants to say. So
Yep.
regardless of how you feel about him, you have to respect and acknowledge his dominance. And I think when you tell it in a certain way, you can really have someone understand what is really going on. And I think, you talk about certain stuff. So I always push like a lot of stories outside of the United States, just as so my family's Jamaican. So love watching Team Jamaica compete in athletics, especially. So when the men was able to go 1-2 in the 100, it was something that had me amped up, fired up, because now there's relevancy again to this USA versus Jamaica rivalry. At some point, we were just talking about it just to talk about it for the sake of history, but now there's legitimacy to it once again. Now, if I did not understand how important that was, I would not be able to relay that message to you in the way that it's supposed to be.
Mm.
And that's why storytelling is so, so, so important when we're trying to grow this sport. And you get that stuff when you have evidence and facts and knowledge and, interviews, and you're asking the right questions. And you can't do that unless you understand and also love the sport. So you have to be a storyteller. You have to do things intentionally. And it can't just be a strictly, so how'd you feel after your race? No, like let's talk about, we could talk about how you felt about your race. That is important, but
Yeah.
let's also talk about what this means and what you just did. And did you know that this was special maybe before you even crossed the line? Or what was the plan going into this race? Like understanding how you just executed this whole thing. Because again, we talked about maybe Cooper Luckenhouse. He didn't understand what he was doing. He's just so young. He's just a kid having fun. He's just doing
Yep.
what he does. He didn't even think he was going to make the finals at USA's, let alone make the damn team.
Hmm.
Versus you have a Noah Lyles who told us months ago he has something cooking, and he always delivers. So
Yep.
it's just understanding that and watching that and just having like studying it and just understanding that the studying is never done. And that's such an important part of storytelling, I think, especially in sports, but especially in this sport. Is with it being an individual sport and such a smaller sport in the States, but in one that just needs to be grown a bit more. And it has the potential to be grown. We just got to water it.
Yeah, gotta water it, gotta and get it. Like Flow Track and and other outlets are highlighting these athletes the way you guys do, and if where it should be done, and being told, like you said, talking about different types of athletes and how they, yes, we hear this about from national media a lot, especially in track and field. How, like you said, how was that race? Like like, what do you think? They're tired. Like they just performed at the highest level. I mean, that by asking those right questions, also, as you said, different questions. And I think that's why a lot of track and field athletes, I remember a couple of years ago, there was the whole thing about national media and the content creators. There was some dissension a few years ago about how the athletes were covered, and the national media were, yes, they were covered, but the content creators, they trusted, the athletes trusted the content creators on
Yeah.
that side, and how they were being covered because the national media were covering them or asking them questions, getting too personal in some way, or
Mhm.
asking them, questions that they hear all the time. Flow Track and other outlets and content creators were asking them different types of questions, which I was loving this. And I've had a few people from the content creation side, as we said, that they talked about, yeah, there's different, now that gap has been bridged. That gap is being, it's coming together now and everything too, because you guys were getting more of the coverage. You guys were getting the athletes to talk, and they wanted to talk to you guys. So it's tremendous that we're able to get that type of coverage now, from both sides, but especially from the content creation side.
Yeah, it's needed, and
Yeah,
this is
much needed.
like the
Hmm.
fact that it was even a problem is just sometimes I think track and field won't grow because of track and field. We don't have to stay in this archaic space
Yep.
where we're only having one type of generic interview. We can have intimate conversations with these athletes, especially if we
Yeah.
have a personal relationship with them. You see it all the time in many different sports. In like NBA, you can see everyone swarmed around LeBron James' locker and asking him stuff in the media pile. You'll get those, but then you might get those one-on-ones when he's sitting down with like a Monica McNutt or Malika Andrews, when they're really getting into the nitty-gritty of how it is, when you're on the transitioning end of your season or of your career, how
Yeah.
it is to play with your son. Like you're obviously going to get different questions in different situations, but the fact that they're able to give both with no problem shouldn't be a problem. And I want that for track. I want that so bad, but we got to let it happen. We have to stop being so resistant to change. I think that definitely
Mm.
contributes to maybe the lack of growth sometimes. And I mean that like all around. I
Oh
think the
yeah.
athletes are ready for it. I think sometimes there's just outside factors that might not be too ready. But I think we're definitely getting into the right space. I think when they created the content creator space for us to get different content, it definitely works because personally, I'm always in the mix zone with the traditional media just trying to like fight in that media pile and get certain questions. But then we have a few of my other counterparts. Normally it's my coworker Demetra, and she'll get like maybe some of those nuanced questions, those fun questions, those questions that really shows how personable this athlete is that you would never get where I'm at. You would
Yeah.
never get that or like after a race. Like yeah, so it's needed. You need both. You really need both.
Yep. Both can be true, as we said. Both can be
Two
true, and
things
they
can
can
be
they
true
can
at
work
once. That's one
at
of
one
my
time.
favorite quotes.
Hmm. They both can be true at once, for sure, and it all work because you're getting different perspectives, which I think in sports you need that, especially from the media telling the side of the athletes or the coaches or the trainers or
Mhm.
whoever. You kind of need that on both sides, not just from said traditional national media, but others now, and I'm glad to see that the track and field national media, or whatever you want to, if however you want to call it, just getting that, being able to say, okay, yes, content creators are getting the athletes, because the athletes are feeling more comfortable with them because they're not being critical all the time, or anything like that. So yeah, we want to hear from the athlete their personalities. Like who would have known this such an athlete has a personality, because now we got it out
Yeah.
of them, and we're talking about something even outside of outside of what they do. Maybe they're training, maybe they like to do this or do that. Yes, it's good to see that we're getting it from both perspectives. I think it's wonderful to have. Let's go back into the World Championships, and I want to ask you about what was some of your. And I'm sure there's so many. There was so many, but if you could pick two or three, what were some of your favorite moments, or maybe someone you interviewed, an athlete that you interviewed? What was a couple of your favorite moments while being there live and doing all the coverage? That's
Ooh,
put you on the spot. It was so. I mean, it's so much. It was like this was a great, like we talk about electric and great World Championships.
yeah. Um, I think my favorite as a fan was hands down the men's 100.
Mm.
That was
Hmm.
selfishly, it was really nice. Like I wrote an article just when we're heading into World Championships. Heading into World Championships, I wrote an article about I think USA versus Jamaica is one of the best rivalries in track
Yeah,
and field, best
definitely.
storylines in track and field, and it was nice to kind of following that see that they came 1-2, Noah came third, and to the point I was making earlier, it has legitimacy again. It has juice. I think the women were only carrying that rivalry to an
For a
extent,
while.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, but it feels like we are entering a new age of it and transitioning out of what we already had, and now we're Oblique and Kashane are carrying, and then you have Brian Lavelle in the 200 that's challenging.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, even the women's 4x4 coming second at the World Championships, people thought it was crazy that I said that the 4x4 could be competitive and they could medal. But yeah, because normally Jamaica is not really known for strong quarter milers. But I think selfishly, as a fan, that was my favorite to watch, that men's 100. Um, I think as a professional, it was really, really nice to see Sydney do what she did in that 400.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that was something special. Um, to go that fast, I had a feeling 47 was going to happen, but I actually picked Paulino to win that race.
Mm.
And how dare
Yeah.
I honestly bet against Sydney? Because the thing is, I was thinking about this as if Sydney was just this normal person, but I forgot that she is one of one and like really normally.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was thinking, normally, right, when you have someone who's jumping into an event that is different from what they normally and traditionally do, normally to go into another event where they have two very strong contenders, it's going to be hard to come out on top. So I was like, no, I mean, I think she's going to medal. I don't think she's going to win. And
Right.
I was proven wrong, and I've never been happier to be proven wrong. And like, it was a big reminder. How dare I compare her to a regular athlete? Sydney is not regular. She's not one of them. None of that. And I think also too, it was nice to see Botswana get that win in the men's 4x4. I
Yes.
think that adds
Yeah.
juice to a lot of stories. People love to sleep on Africa, but in this, like in the sprints, they've only
Yeah.
thought of African countries, like East Africa in particular, to just dominate distance, and that's it. But we've seen Botswana, we've seen South Africa, and even a little bit of Ivory Coast with Talu still doing what she does,
Hmm.
really go crazy in the sprints. And the fact that there was only one American man in the 400 final and three Botswanian men or men from Botswana take up three of those lanes plus someone else from South Africa, that says a lot. That's telling. And it maybe changing of the guards is a little strong, but it definitely adds some layers and storylines to
Yeah.
what's going on. Because prior to that, I was wondering, I said, hey, what are fans going to do if USA loses? And kind of so said, so then they had a very strong field, and then add on, let's see, Late Tobogo to that very strong quartet of quarter milers. Yeah, I think those three got it for me. But it's so hard because the distance races were good too. Like that men's
Yeah.
5,000 was crazy. Like Cole Hawker is a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cole Hawker is a freaking dog to get DQ'd in his main event in the 1500, where he's the reigning Olympic champion,
Yep.
and then come back in the 5,000 and then win that, where he probably wasn't the favorite initially, is
Yep.
wild. But like he's
Right.
beginning of the season, I didn't make the 5,000 for the Olympic team. I am going to make it for the world championship team. But I wonder if he also added in there silently that I'm going to win it as well. I wonder if that was a part of the plan, or if maybe him being DQ'd from the 1500 final was,
Right.
a blessing in disguise. I don't know, but like the whole championships was just full of drama, regardless of what event you want to talk about.
You talking about drama, yes, for sure. That was some of the storylines too. That I mean, I liked all the what you all the highlights you said. It was just like you said, so many, and I don't think I wouldn't feel as bad because with Paulino, as you said, probably would have been and should have been the favorite and Nasser as well. But like we talked earlier, it exceeded the hype, and you said Sydney's just a one of one, and you said under normal circumstances, if it's anybody else, you're thinking it's going to take some time for someone to elevate the way she did just to come in. But she's been preparing for this, even with being a 400
Yeah.
hurdles. She was dipping into 400. She wanted to do this a couple years ago, but a couple seasons ago, but with injury, she wasn't able to do it. But then to come in and as you said, it's hard to bet against her, but I don't have. There's no shame in that picking Paulino because under any other circumstances, Paulino would have won. And Paulino ran a under 40, under 48
Yeah,
anyway.
bro, 48.
Yeah, right, 48. So and going into this, I didn't think me and Serena was talking about this. We were both saying, is it possible? Can somebody actually go under 48? And we were thinking, yeah, possibly. Then when Cindy broke the American record in the semifinal, thinking, yeah, this is gonna be possible for two to break it. Yeah, that was unbelievable. But I agree with all the highlights. There's so many. Melissa Jefferson Wooden.
Oh my gosh, how could I
Yeah,
forget about
yeah,
MGW? Oh my gosh.
yeah. Just the season she's had this past season, going undefeated, and just winning the 100 and the 200 in dominant fashion on both. It's tremendous, and to run the way she's been running, like it was destined to, because she's such a humble athlete, and just to be able to do what she did in the 100 and the 200 and a 4x1, and just winning 3 gold medals, 3 gold medals in the worlds was tremendous. So yeah, like I said, so many storylines. Shelly Fraser Price, retiring. I know.
Yeah.
That's another big storyline. Delilah Muhammad as well. Delilah's thinking maybe this is not.
Delilah, yes. So she
Yeah.
said, listen, it's not set in stone yet.
Yeah,
So
not set in
there's
stone. Yeah.
hope. Like,
Yep.
this is the best Delilah. Like, she didn't have the best world championships, but this is the
Yeah.
best she's looked in a couple years.
Yeah. Yes.
We might get blessed with another season.
Yeah,
I'm keeping the faith.
Yeah, we might. And you said some of the drama. You said the 4x1 men, USA men relay. Had to do basically a runoff, as you might say, just to get in. They're
4x4. Yeah.
4x4. 4x4. There was so much I used to talk about Cole Hocker, and I think he was just motivated to after getting DQ'd, and then just saying motivated to win that 5,000. It was so much, and we could have talked a whole hour just on the world championships for sure and everything, and it was tremendous. But all right, before I let you go, because like I said, we could have talked forever about just the world.
I was trying to keep it to 3, but like when you go through it all, it's like, dang, what do you want to talk about? Talk about Faith Kipyegon too. So it's
and then we even talk like the field events. It was all those. Yes, we could go on and on. I got to have you back on for sure. We could really deep dive into a lot of different things and everything too. But my last question that I want to ask you is like, what's coming up next for you? I know track season not over, as you said. You covering high school and everything too. I didn't get into your love for the Celtics. We got to get into that NBA season stuff. Well, I'll quickly. What's your expectation? Celtics, a lot of changes happening, and Tatum, he's trying to make a cut. He's trying to come back.
He looks really good.
I mean, the recovery, from the torn Achilles, and I mean, there's just a lot of players are out with torn Achilles this season. But what's Porzingis and Drew Holiday now gone? A lot of changes happening. But what's your quickly take on what you're expecting for the Celtics?
Greatness, you know how we do. So, but I think what I could expect is like probably at best maybe a solid playoff run. semifinals at most. But they're a special team. I think they have a history of success that a lot of teams just don't have. A lot of teams can't. 18 championships.
Yeah.
Nobody else can say that. Not even a lot of teams can say that. But what it comes down to, I think when we talk about our superstar Jason Tatum, he went down in the middle of May, and he got his Achilles surgery less than 24 hours later.
Yeah, immediately.
And we can see right now he's recovering immaculately. So I think he's going to be fine. I do hope they don't rush it and push it and bring him back prematurely, because I do think that may be unnecessary, especially in a season where, to your point, there's a lot of change happening. And it seems like they're going through a bit of a mini rebuild. So I think at this point, what is the rush? If it were me, I'd still sit him out for the season and be like, all right, we will see you in 26-27 season.
Yep.
Because Achilles is really nothing to play with, and to have a lingering one at that is not fun. We see that he is, he's improving dramatically in great fashion, and one can maybe argue that maybe by February All-Star break he may be good to go, but I just don't see the need in pushing it when I don't even know if I would consider them a championship contender right this second. There's still some pieces that needs to be moved. I think there's some drafts that need to be made, and with us getting rid of Drew and Porzingis, we got some holes to fill, and I think also us losing Al Horford too to Golden State.
Yeah.
So I think he was seeing him potentially not retiring to Celtic is breaking my heart. But I guess that's the game. But I think the Celtics will be fine. I would be concerned if we were like the Sixers, no offense. But yeah. I think
no, that's true. And then you're right. I think with the Celtics, I think in the East is so wide open too, because you said with all those injuries, all those certainties, the Celtics could. And I'm with you with if say the Celtics are by All-Star break or a little after, say by March, April, they're floating with that 6-7 seed. And it's like, okay, is it worth it? Is it worth Tatum coming back? Now, if they're in the top seed, second or third seed, you're thinking, okay, maybe, and but now we can see, you said Jaylen Brown leading, then Derek White, and they do have pieces. I think their depth is it's definitely questioned, but again, lack of depth, I should say. But it's
yeah. I think that's going to be an issue, and it sucks because I think one thing about us is that we always had such a deep bench.
Yeah,
so
right.
We lost pieces of that. So now we're going to see. I'm interested to see how Jaylen Brown transitions into our number one this season.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was arguments of a couple years ago where it's who's better, Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. They definitely fluctuate, but I think overall we have to say it is Tatum. But I want to see how Jaylen Brown transitions into this leadership role, not only physically but emotionally and mentally, and how that really translates to the rest of the team. And obviously, Derek White, he's going to do what he does. I think he has to kind of falling in line and making sure that he gets his job done. And I'm expecting maybe about half of the games, Derek White might be the best player on that floor. Because that's the way he plays.
Both ends of the floor, and it's funny because even a couple of years ago, before Celtics won the championship, Derek White was thinking, okay, what type of player is he? Is he going to be one of the top echelon players? But 3 years ago, and then he just continued to keep improving, and now, as you said, he's one of the best players on the Celtics, and some nights he's going to be the best player. Even with Jaylen Brown, he's going to be the best player. He's the glue. I think Derek White is the glue for that team. Now that Drew's out,
it's special for sure. I think with basketball, you just have to find the right fit. It's like when you look at Jalen Brunson when he was at the Mavericks versus at the Knicks.
Yeah,
those are two different players.
Yes, two totally different players. Exactly, you're right.
But he found his fit.
Yeah, and now he's at the start of one of the highest levels, and was just a few games away from going to the finals. And so but the East is so wide open now because you said so much uncertainty. You have the Knicks, Cleveland, and then you don't know what the health of the Sixers, the Milwaukee Bucks. They've lost. Their Dame's gone now, out anyway, and traded, and who knows how long Giannis is going to be there. You got teams like Orlando and Detroit trying to get into that top echelon. I think they will. Upper echelon team
on their side.
Yeah, they got youth, crazy youth. And you said the Celtics are right there. So it's what Atlanta's gonna do. Yeah, the East is so wide open. It's just we'll see how that happens. All right, last one. If I let you go, the last one was What's next for Nia coming up? Where you said still covering track and field on the high school level and things like that, to cross country and they said the miles, the long distance running is still going on. But what is
Mhm.
next for Nia Gibson?
So yeah, we currently have our cross country ranking show. We just
Mm,
recorded our first show today and should be live right now. But my next event that I'll be covering in person is the Chicago Marathon. So yeah, beautiful thing about this sport, there is no off season.
yeah.
And although Athlos hasn't happened yet, that will probably be the conclusion of outdoor season finally for track and
Yep.
field. And we're going right into cross country season, which has started already for high school and college. But yeah, we are in right now the thick of, or the more so the beginning of marathon and cross country season. So we're gonna see a lot of miles being logged, a lot of mud being splashed in different conditions and weather, and seeing the you're gonna see some of the grittiest athletes that you've ever seen over the next couple of months. So yeah, definitely you can see me at Chicago Marathon though next.
Okay. All right. Well, check out Nia, all the coverage there as well. Like I said, does tremendous work, great work. But let everyone know they can actually follow you on social media if they want to reach out to you, ask you some questions, advice, how to get into this, and all those things.
You can follow me on Twitter _Nia Gibson, NIAGIBSON, Instagram Nia _Gibson. Pretty simple, straight to the point. You can find me.
Yep. So yes. So follow her, like, subscribe, all those things. Flow Track, Flow Sports. Nia, I really appreciate this time and thank you again. I really enjoyed this conversation. Like I said, we could have done a couple hours
Yeah,
on
my
all things and
that just
sports.
means we
And
gotta do it again.
yeah, we definitely got to do it again. And I didn't get a chance. I wanted to ask you about. I don't know if you saw Nafisa Collier and her comments about
Move.
the W, and that was okay. Last
Yeah,
one.
that's
This is
why we gotta do this again.
yeah.
When
We got to definitely do
the
this.
season concludes or locks out, we can do this again.
Yeah, we could do this again because when she's speaking, we listen. She's one of those ones that don't say much, but
But when
yeah,
she
got on
goes, I'm
rival.
set.
Yeah, she was like, yeah, I'm putting it all on blast. This is it. So, but yeah, for sure. But follow Nia on all those platforms as well. So thanks again, and we'll have to do this again. I really appreciate it.
Oh, for sure. Let's definitely do it. Thanks for having me.
All right, you're welcome. All right, you have a good one.
You as well.
Thanks. Bye.